65 million years. It's about how long it took this movie to get interesting. What is up, everybody? Welcome to my review of the new release that you probably are not talking about this weekend, 65, a movie with Adam Driver where he goes and lands on Earth 65 million years ago with futuristic tech and has to fight off dinosaurs. How in the fuck can that concept not be awesome? Let me start off by saying this, man. 2023 has been off to a rough start. Like, I've actually been kind of getting like mildly depressed as somebody that goes to the movies every single week because of the films aplenty that I have seen in the first 2.5 months of this year. Only 2 of them do I genuinely really like, and both of them are movies that are just the type of movies I would never watch again. And everything else has either been bad or just like, that was pretty good. 65 was a movie that the trailer came out of nowhere for me, and I watched it and went, man, that looks kick-ass. That's going to be one of those movies that like drops out of nowhere like the first John Wick, and then we're talking about for a while like, hey, that was a really genuinely cool surprise that year. And I saw this in a double feature the other night with my buddy CP right after we got out of Scream 6, and Scream 6 disappointed me a good bit, so I was really hoping that 65 was going to be like an uptick from the experience that we just had. Unfortunately, it did not go down that way. It's not a good movie. So starting off with the positives, I will say that Adam Driver is great. He does everything he possibly can to carry this film. He's one of those newer actors that I have not seen him do even a mediocre job. I haven't liked a ton of movies that he's been in, aside from The Force Awakens, which unfortunately the next 2 sequels kind of sabotaged for me. Thought he was amazing in Marriage Story, but again, that's the type of movie I probably would never watch again. Other things I've seen him in, I just kind of get mad like, oh man, this could have been a great franchise for him. This could have been a really good jump-off point or a really nice standout movie in his filmography, and he's the best part about it. Everything surrounding him just does not measure up. And I'll also say that the CGI on the dinosaurs that we get in here is pretty good. It's convincing. It's nowhere near the escapism or the movie magic of things like the original Jurassic Park. What is? I don't really necessarily walk in with that standard, but if you're somebody that any form of CGI, even if it's really decent CGI, is just not going to really be effective for you, you always know you're looking at a computer graphic, then you might not feel that way. But for what they were doing, I think it was pretty good. I think that was honestly one of the most effective parts of the film when we actually do get dinosaur action. And that's unfortunately all I really have positive to say about this film. This thing, all of the best parts, all of the exciting parts, all of the parts that you really went to this movie to see are mostly in the third act, and all of it is in the trailer. Essentially, the storyline you have here is that Adam Driver is a part of some race somewhere on some planet far away that happens to talk and look exactly like modern-day humans, only they have futuristic tech. And he's a pilot, and the movie opens up just with this quiet scene with him and his wife and his daughter at this beach where he is kind of telling them, hey, I'm about to go on this 2-year journey so that we can get money because his daughter has an illness and they want to be able to pay for it. And so it's just a little quiet moment amongst family before he ventures off and doesn't see them for a few years. Immediately hard cut to him on the ship as asteroids hit it and it crash lands onto this planet. And so you get no context, no backstory whatsoever on who this race is. Are they humans? Are they somebody that's just an alien race that's like humans? What exactly does he work for? What entity? What are they doing? Why is he going there? Why does he have passengers? What are they trying to accomplish? You get none of that context as far as exposition in the first act. It's just immediate to whatever the concept of the film is. And typically when that happens in a film where they're like, we're not bothering with the explanation, let's get to the meat of it, that means it's a movie where they're trying to really get to the action. This is going to be a mile-a-minute movie. All that shit's inconsequential. You know what you're here for. But then you spend the next hour plus walking and communicating with a girl that does not speak English, and you get a couple of dinosaurs here and there, but mostly smaller dinosaurs, and experimenting with the plant life that's there. Is this safe to drink? Is this safe to eat? I don't know. Let's put it in this little device. Beep. Nope. No, it's not. All right, keep moving. Keep walking. And so the pacing of this story, it just drags its ass to where I swear to God, I picked up my phone at some point, which I usually never do, not even to check the time. I picked my phone up, flashed it for a second, and I said, this has been on for an hour. feels like it's been on for 2. They don't establish any other conflicts or anything that they have to overcome along the way beyond a little bit of a language barrier, so it's just a film that immediately drops you into this world, gives you an end point. We got to get from point A to point B, and then you just watch these two characters walk to point B for 90 minutes. Essentially what they're trying to go for here is kind of a version of The Last of Us. And not to claim that The Last of Us was the first thing to do this type of storyline. It's not. It's definitely derivative of other things that I've seen. But that's the biggest counterpoint that I can think of, just because I'm a fanatic and the show is currently airing. So immediately you see this guy who has abandoned his daughter back on his planet to go off to do this mission, and now he has this younger girl that he is the only person that can care for her, and so he's trying to protect her through this journey. It's point A, B, and C of The Last of Us, with none of the effective drama, with none of the charm, with none of the thematic elements that are present in that story, not even any of the action sequences that you get in The Last of Us or the horror sequences. And one of the biggest reasons why the relationship between these two characters isn't effective or gripping enough to make a movie with little action and a lot of just walking and talking effective is because they have this language barrier to where he speaks English, as far as we understand it, she speaks some other language, and so the whole movie they can't really communicate. He can get her to understand like little words like home and family, like E.T., but beyond that, there's no real genuine connection between them, or at least we don't get enough of it to really buy into it. You understand that he cares for her because she's a young girl, he's an adult, it's his responsibility to try to help her out of this situation, but beyond that, you really don't feel any kind of a genuine bond or a love or, a family type environment building between these two because of that language barrier. It was such an odd choice.
Oh, family.
Ready?
And even 2/3 of the way through the film, they introduce this major ticking clock element where, okay, we were just kind of walking from point A to point B. Now there is a serious threat coming and we have to haul ass to point B. And the movie's pace does not change at all. They continue to just mosey on their way to point B. And as I said before, even when you do get to some action sequences, even when you do get to some of those thrills where a T-Rex or a big dinosaur shows up and it's Adam Driver and his little space gun versus big giant monsters, there's not really a ton of gratification there, especially with the amount of impatience that you have built up at that point, because as I've said, all of it was in the marketing, and there's not really a ton of variety to these sequences either. It's just space gun versus giant lizards. And finally, I'm not going to get specific with this whatsoever because it is diving mildly into spoilers. I don't think this is the quality of film where spoilers really matter all that much, but there is a bit of a plot reveal regarding the motivation of Adam Driver and the mental state of Adam Driver that's introduced about halfway through the film to try to reframe some of how you see him and what he is doing and his drive to help this little girl and why he's trying to survive and all of that. And I just think it was extremely awkwardly handled. I mean, to the point where they have to deliberately take information away from you for the first half of the film to get you to see it one way, just to throw in the information that should have been there from the beginning to try to surprise you. And it just doesn't function as an effective reveal. It just kind of makes you look back at the first half and go, why didn't we know that from the beginning? That is such a weird thing to try to pull the rug out from under us with. It doesn't really change anything effectively. It just makes the first half odd. So nonetheless, guys, this was a giant swing and a miss, and it sucks because I was so confident that this was going to be one of those really cool, fun movies. Even if it was a shut your brain off type movie, I enjoy just the concept that they were going for. But there's just not really a whole lot of writing quality in this script. It really feels like they had the concept and then it just kind of got wrapped around walking and talking with somebody that can't fucking effectively communicate with the main character. It was shocking to find out that the people that made this are the writers of A Quiet Place, a movie that I think is tremendous. So yeah, if you love dinosaur action, maybe check it out, but there's not a ton of that even in here. So Adam Driver, man. I hope you get a good franchise at some point, buddy, because you deserve it. You're fucking awesome. This just wasn't it. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed this, please click over here for all of my 2023 movie reviews thus far, and I'm also going to put my ranking of all of last year's movies up here if you want to check out my year of 2022 in review. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and share and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss everything in the future, including a Scream 6 spoiler review coming your way very soon. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.